What is up, guys? Thank you so much for stopping by. Today I have another very special unboxing. I know I always say this is a very special unboxing. Today is particularly special. We are going to be unboxing the Pure Arts 1-to-1 Battle Damage T800 Art Mask, full-size replica. This thing is badass. And, whoa! And I'm gonna get a little emotional with you guys today, if you don't mind. Depending on the day, depending on when you ask me, and we're gonna talk about today. As I stand right now, Terminator 2 is probably my favorite movie of all time. And not just because it's just a badass movie, but it just takes me back to a time of really, and this sounds cheesy, but discovering how magical and amazing movies are. Sometimes it's easy to kind of take for granted how big of a part movies play in your memories and kind of placing you back in time in your childhood. And Terminator 2 is that movie that just takes me back to a very distinct time in my life. This movie was released in 1991. It's really hard to describe how big of a deal Terminator 2 was upon its release. It's not like today where there's a new big $100 million, $200 million blockbuster every other week just getting dumped onto Netflix. This was a big deal, not only for action movies, but the idea of how big and how groundbreaking an action film could actually be. People's minds were absolutely blown by the CGI effects of the T-1000, and in my opinion, the effects still hold up today, almost more so than a lot of modern action movies that are just so bogged down with green screen and CGI to a point where they were basically watching a cartoon.
Call me Ocean Master.
Now, this movie was the first R-rated movie I ever owned. I got it on VHS and I just wore this movie out. The iconic scenes in this movie are just absolutely endless. The bar scene where the Terminator steals the biker's clothes and puts on the sunglasses and steps onto his bike as Born to Be Wild plays in the background. And not just the bar scene, we had the massive chase scene in the LA River, in the canals with the motorcycle and the massive semi-truck flying off a bridge overpass. Nobody had seen a spectacle like this. Then you have the iconic intro scene of Linda Hamilton where she's in her room doing her pull-ups, just looking badass. I could go on and on about the endless scenes in this movie, the amazing climax in the steel mill and the liquid metal scene. Now, the way it was filmed, you just don't feel so detached from what's happening on screen like some modern action CGI fest completely shot with actors interacting with tennis balls and a green screen. Everything feels tactile. You feel connected to everything happening on screen because it's shot practically. James Cameron wanted everything to feel real. He wanted you to be inside the scene as these amazing action sequences were taking place. Not to mention the phenomenon of Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's hard to describe to modern audiences how big of a deal Arnold Schwarzenegger was at this time. Leading up to Arnold Schwarzenegger taking this role, he was coming off roles like Total Recall, Kindergarten Cop, Twins, The Running Man, Predator, Commando. He was the biggest action star on the planet. Kind of like The Rock, except, you know, talented. Now, it's also hard to mention Terminator 2 without talking about James Cameron. Say what you will about James Cameron, but with each and every film he's made, he's pushed the boundaries of filmmaking with each and every film he's made. Terminator 2 completely infiltrated the culture at its time. From the Hasta La Vista babies to Affirmative, everything in pop culture was dominated by Terminator 2. It was just impossible to escape. Thanks to the charisma of Arnold Schwarzenegger, the groundbreaking direction of James Cameron, it was just an absolute phenomenon. And to my 9-year-old eyes, this thing was the coolest thing I had ever seen. And not to mention John Connor. There was no kid my age at that time who didn't think John Connor was just the coolest thing ever in 1991. Everybody wanted to be John Connor. I wanted his hair so bad. So yeah, this movie just holds such an immense part of my heart and part of who I am as a film fan. I cannot say enough good things about Terminator 2. We're not going to talk about anything that happened after Terminator 2. In my opinion, the Terminator franchise stopped after Terminator 2, so we're not going to mention anything that happened after that. But in my opinion, Terminator 2 is the greatest action movie ever made and the greatest sequel ever made. And out of the Terminator franchise, we got the iconic T-800 endoskeletons. Now that I'm done with my Terminator 2 life story, we're just going to dive into this unboxing. And it's actually not going to be an unboxing because we're just going to jump right to it. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen, the T-800 Pure Arts Endo Skull replica from Terminator 2. This thing is absolutely gorgeous. This thing was limited to 2,029 pieces. This is number 81 of 2029. Now this thing has some pretty cool features. It takes 3 AA batteries. There's 2 little mini skulls down here that you push. One turns on this really cool LED light on the bottom, and the next features the lights. The eyes light up on the front, one flashes. There is another button on the back that makes some kind of like electrical noises because he is pretty beat up at this point. There's little hanging wires that are kind of like frayed and hanging here, which are a really nice touch. The detail is absolutely incredible, from the teeth to the cracks and the little battle damage details that they put on here. And this molten rock that he's kind of mounted on here is just absolutely incredible. And this can actually be displayed in 2 different ways. This head comes off like this, and you can actually mount it like this. Is for the standing, if you wanted to just leave it displayed like this, or it is mounted. There's some screws on the back that you can mount it, and the head mounts on the top this way, and you can stick it on there, which is really, really easy to do, and then you're able to kind of mount it on the wall. It does stick out quite a bit. You'd have to have kind of a larger space if you wanted to do that, but it looks really cool. Like if you were able to mount this in a corner, it would just look really badass. But this thing just looks absolutely incredible. It'll be displayed like this. Make sure you get it all the way on there. There we go. And we'll get it going. Okay, so it looks like the way... Okay, that thing's still beeping. Okay, so there's a couple different options here as far as the eyes go. Looks like it's off. You hit it like this, and then it kind of flickers with the sound. You hit it again, and it just kind of beeps without the sound. You hit it again, and it's just static on. So there are a couple different options for this. As far as the bottom base is concerned, it's just on or off, and the other one just controls just this light, and it kind of lights up. Yeah, it lights up a little, and the other control kind of lights up a little bit in his face, but it's mainly just the eye here. Like I said, the detail is absolutely incredible. These teeth look insanely realistic. So all in all, this thing is just absolutely incredible. I bought this off Sideshow Collectables, but you can also order one directly from pureartscollectables.com. I'll link that down there. As of now, there is a limited edition that comes with the 40 caliber bullet. Those massive shells that Arnold uses in the, especially at the end of the movie where he's shooting like rocket launcher style, those massive 40 caliber bullets. But I'll give you some stats here. Limited to 2029 units, LED light up eyes for a burned effect, glitching sound effect, and flickering eyes. Table or wall mount display optional, licensed by Studio Canal. They're putting out some cool stuff. They just actually put out the 4K restoration of Total Recall, so they got the lock on Arnie right now. The height on this thing is 17.7 inches, 12.6 inches wide, depth 9.5, and it weighs 9.7 pounds. So this thing is pretty hefty. When you lift it up, it's got some weight to it. It doesn't feel like a really cheap plastic. This thing is heavy duty. Now this thing is pretty massively expensive. Now when you buy any collectible, are the actual physical materials that they use to create this worth that much? No, you're paying for the limited nature of it. You're paying for the design. Now this thing was pretty high dollar, but these companies know they price these things at what they'll sell for. They got me on it. So all in all, this thing is super, super badass. I'll leave the links below for Sideshow Collectables. That's where I bought mine. This is really awesome. It pairs pretty well with my endo arm that I got here. This was a part of a collector's set of the 4K release a few years back, the 4K collector's edition of Terminator 2. So another badass addition to my Terminator 2 collection. I could not be more stoked to have these. Absolutely stoked to have this. So guys, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Check out my other videos. Stay weird, and until next time, bye.
I love movies.
gosh, I love movies. I love watching them, and I love making them.